Emulate the taste of like non-chicken nuggets. So these nuggets are made from chicken, but they're made to emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
Oh, that's much better.
Edit all the blather out of your videos because my time is very precious.
Oh, that's fire.
Make it less teal and more
Cerulean? Sure.
Replace your background with something more fun? The cold void of outer space.
Let's boost that sound quality. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
It needs more style. It needs more clips, more gifs, more. Well, I might have made it too gnarly.
Trevor, what's up, man?
How's it going? Happy Thursday.
This is like the third different place you've streamed from in the last week.
This is true. Technically, we were on YouTube on Tuesday, but it is a different space, so to speak.
Yeah, for everybody who's tuning in, if you haven't met Trevor, that means you haven't been on one of the support webinars on YouTube and you don't hang out in Discord with our office hours. Usually him and Marcelo are in there. Is that Thursday afternoons?
Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So please join us if you haven't yet. It's a good time.
Yeah. And for everybody else who's joining in, we are going to be editing our videos, getting more content shipped and posted and created without more people, especially if you work on a team or your team doesn't have enough video people. We're all video people. I don't know about you, Trevor, but before this webinar started, the last thing I was doing was finding clips to post from our previous webinars. And I used to say I'm not a video editor, but at some point we all are, no matter what your job title is.
That's awesome. I hope you found some good clips, and there's always some fun clips from the webinars from you and Marcelo to get.
Yeah, my favorite one lately was the clip for April Fool's yesterday, where we had Underlord edit in all the filler words, and it's just him saying like, yeah, repeatedly. It's the inverse of filler word removal, which Trevor will show you how to do today. For everybody in the chat, thank you for joining us as you are coming in and getting your afternoon snack or lunch, depending on where you are tuning in from. Let us know in the chat what the current state of video looks like on your team. Are you a video editor, producer, a marketer? You're not a video person by trade, but you go, I don't know, I just need more videos and I'm doing it myself. Or if you're a team of one and you just are responsible for everything. Marcelo snuck in the chat. I don't know why he's in here.
Marcelo took my job at being in the chat.
Yeah, it's like a role reversal for you two today. Yeah, well, we're going to get rolling with the agenda and make sure everybody knows what you will take away from the next hour of this webinar that Trevor is hosting for us. One of the things that probably brought you here is that creating video, recording it, editing it, posting it is difficult. And a lot of people just get this feeling, this pit of their stomach, oh man, I have video to edit. It's the worst part of my day or the hardest thing that I do. We're going to show you in a live demo from a real project in Descript ways that you can edit video without being in the waveform and using a blade tool and cutting the digital film, so to speak, in hopefully ways that are a little closer to working with a document or things that you are more comfortable with. And then, of course, like we got the YouTube chat blown up. You can ask questions. You can say, show that again, or for my use case, how would this look? And we'll get those in front of Trevor and make sure we answer your questions as we go along. As long as you're somebody who's doing video, even better if you don't have a video editing background, you're going to have takeaways today. And you're going to find ways to use Descript to make your life easier. And that feeling of, oh, I have video to create or edit is hopefully less negative once you see how Trevor is editing his videos today. Although, if you are a video producer and editor in New York City, what's up, Range Finance? We appreciate you too. This might be a way to help your team of non-video people take some things off the video editor's plates, because they probably don't have the bandwidth to do everything you need. And by the end, we'll do Q&A at the very end, but we'll make sure that you know your way around the app, where the menus are, and the main buttons and tools that you're going to need to interface with to create awesome video and not go back to college and get a degree in film or spend hours watching tutorials of video editing apps. And we're good examples of this. Everybody has to make video now. It's 2026. There's other things we do, but most of us make more video than ever. There's different versions of it. People think social media and marketing, but also sales, doing demos, walkthroughs, internal trainings for your own team, editorial, reviewing somebody's work and just sending them a screen share. There's a million different ways to use a video, and all of those are going to be accessible through Descript. And as long as you have the right tool, which Trevor's going to show you ours today, you don't have to be the expert at technology. You can edit like a document and make videos so good you have imposter syndrome about your video editing skills. That's one of our goals. So if you haven't seen the transcript-based editing, that's one of the first things that Trevor's going to show us, and basically interface with it like a document, and you're a video editor too. So with that being said, Trevor, are you ready to rock and roll?
I am. That was a great overview, especially how video really is for every team, including the support team. I think all of us on the support team probably make 2 to 3 videos a day just to share with users, or we ask them for videos. And the more tools we have, the easier it is for the user to understand what we're trying to portray and convey to them on like how to do something, usually in Descript.
Yeah, I'm not a video
Ready to jump
editor.
in.
I think the exact sentiment here from Lifetime Investment Realty on YouTube. We all need more videos, and we have to do it ourselves. We feel you. That is our day job too. So let's do
Absolutely.
it.
Let's jump in. So we have a project here in Descript, and this is what it looks like if you've never opened it up before. This is a Descript project specifically. We're going to go through pretty much what all of these aspects of the project is. We're going to cover the script here, the scene editor, this panel over here. We might cover, we probably won't unless there's some questions about it, but we do have a timeline if you are familiar with timeline editing. But the great thing about Descript is you never have to open that up. And so we're not going to open it up unless we really, really have to. But this is a finished project that we're just going to play really quickly. It's about 30 seconds just to show what we're going to be talking about when we go over some of these features.
This is Jacques from Poseidon Logistics with an update that will be a real treasure for your shipping operations. We've just released a groundbreaking improvement to our Pirate Tracker feature. It's going to be a real game changer for anyone moving cargo across open waters. Not only will you get real-time location data of known pirate ships, but we've also included a full strategic plan to keep your cargo safe from plunder.
So that is our very real Poseidon Logistics company. And this is the video from Jacques, which is sort of an introduction to this product, this new feature that is released. This is just one example of a video you can make with Descript. To actually get started with Descript, there's a few ways. You can either record directly in Descript. You can record to upload videos or files or audio, or you can upload to the project. You need media to get started in a lot of cases. To record in Descript, we have this record button down here. And if you press it, you can record either your camera using a webcam or the camera on your computer, an external webcam. You can record your screen if you're doing something like showing how to use a website and how to, if you work in e-commerce, you might need to show how to demo something from there. Or you can record audio only if you just need to record a voiceover for something. And for the screen, you can record into the script or a new layer. So if you already recorded audio or if you have text to speech, you can add that as an additional layer. We also have this ability to record with others. It's called Descript Rooms. And if you press this, it'll open up a Rooms project. This is great if you're doing an interview, a podcast, or if you have any sort of multiple person cross talking feature that or situation that you need. For the support team, we use this every morning in our morning stand-up. We have about 10 people that show up. I think it's up to 10 right now. And we record the meeting and then we have it forever. We can watch it, take notes, it's transcribed. It's awesome. We don't need to do any of that right now because there's also another way to import is from the project files. There's this handy plus here and you can add files. You can also add files from your Finder or your Explorer if you're on Windows by just dragging and dropping a file into the script. But some other ways to import are adding it from your computer. You can add it from a mobile device, and if you press here, you'll get this QR code. You can scan it from your phone and then upload files right from your phone if you took something out in the field. A really handy feature. You can also add from the media library, which is another feature. If you have files or assets that you use in all other projects, you can access them from here. So just to show, this is some of ours.
Don't ask what's in the memes folder.
Oh, the memes folder? I actually don't know what's in the memes folder.
There's even a secret folder in the memes folder.
Oh, there is? Oh, maybe we'll have to take a look. Or maybe it's too secret. But you can also import from other projects if you have a file that you uploaded that you actually want to use on this one. You can import directly from a Zoom recording if it was recorded to the cloud. Really handy feature if you record a lot in Zoom. And you can import PowerPoint slides. So if you are doing a video on a slideshow, you can import it through there. We have already imported all of the media, which is how we got some of this B-roll and some of the music here. So we don't really need to focus on that. But I'm going to go to the raw version of this. And if I didn't miss anything, I'm just going to go into what makes Descript stand out as an editor, which is text-based editing. Text-based editing really makes video editing pretty easy and understandable for everyone. If you've ever used Word document or a Drive doc, any sort of word processor, it's just as easy as highlighting text and pressing delete. And now it's gone. It is deleted. It is gone from the video. I'm going to press Command Z. I'm on a Mac, so it's Command Z to undo it. So if we play this back.
This is Jacques. This is Jacques.
You can see how he repeated it. He did a retake. So I don't want this take. I just want this take. If I delete it and play it back.
Operations. This is Jacques.
It skips it. It's gone. And it's just as easy as highlighting and deleting it. When you import a file and add media to your project, it transcribes it automatically. It'll even detect the language that it's in. We have, I don't want to get this wrong, I think we have close to 30 supported transcription languages. So if you recorded another language, you can import from there and it'll auto detect the language and transcribe it in that language. Here it's English, so that's what we're working with here. And if anything was spelled incorrectly, you can also correct that. Let's just say down here, we want to make this all capitalized. I can press correct, change it here, and now it is changed in the script. And the reason you would want to do that is when we add captions later on in the demo, you'll see how groundbreaking is going to be all in caps in the captions. It's a one-to-one thing from there. Another thing is if you don't like how it came out and you want to use, if you don't want to re-record it, you can use something called regenerate. So what should we regenerate here? From Poseidon Logistics with an update that will be a real treasure for your shipping operations. I'm going to add for all your shipping operations here. So I'm going to highlight here and I'm going to press this button called regenerate. And I want to add the word all in here. And I also want to regenerate the video. So what this does is it's going to regenerate this and add this a word in there without us having to do anything. You'll see the activity that is generating AI speech, which is what we're doing here. And we'll play it back just so you can see the kind of magic of doing this without having to re-record.
Yeah, which if you're on the video team, you know the pain of this. If you catch it after you've been in the studio or had the outfit on or the day you booked to be in there and you have to change one word, you just have to go back in and bring in the talent and reshoot it.
Yeah, and this was a pretty in-depth shoot. I mean, I know it looks pretty simple, but just getting someone in a room, getting the lighting set up, getting the camera set up, getting the talent there, setting up the teleprompter, doing all of these steps takes a lot. So not having to redo that saves you hours and hours and probably a lot of money. It does take a while, and it also can depend on your network speed. I'm currently streaming and sharing the screen, so it might take a little bit. Hopefully it does regenerate within the next minute. If not, we'll just move on to the next thing.
Yeah. And I think what are some common reasons why people would have to go back and regenerate, whether it's the audio or the audio and the video?
Yeah, so a good reason for this one is if you've messed something up, if you messed up a word and you didn't get a good take for it. Another reason is if you want to change the word, if something has changed. Let's say you are releasing it on a Friday and the schedule shifts and now you're releasing the video on a Monday. You can do this when you can re-record it regenerate the word Friday to Monday for something. I do see we have a question. Do you want to read it out?
Yeah. So on YouTube, Ed is asking, what happens after you regenerate and say you're going to export to something else like Adobe Premiere? Does that come with your video file?
So we do offer some timeline export functionality, but there are some limitations. I believe that regeneration might be one of the things that doesn't copy over when going to another project like Premiere. But if you export this video just as the sort of raw video, just the script, that will carry over because it's now baked in. As you'll see here, it did load, so we can play it from, I'm going to play it just a few seconds before.
With an update that will be a real treasure for all your shipping operations.
It even got the hand motion in there too.
And notice the words. This is, if you haven't seen this before, it moved his lips to a new word that he never said. That's wild that it can do that.
Yeah, that is a fairly new feature with lip sync. We used to not have this. It was a highly sought after feature. We finally launched it in Descript. So you no longer have to cover it up with B-roll. You can just have the subject talking on screen and regenerate the video from there. Another great reason is if you are releasing the same video to different types of people. I know we have a translate feature that we might cover, but this is if you are talking to marketers and you say marketers, but now you want to talk to sales teams. So you can change that to say, hello, sales team. There's just a lot of different reasons why you would want to use this or re-record. And now you get the option of saving a lot of money and time. I'm going to undo because I don't actually want this in there. I want the original video. But another thing we can do is with the text to speech is you can find specific words that you say. So let's just say anywhere I see groundbreaking, I just pressed Command F to bring up this window here. And this is the search thing. So groundbreaking. I know I already corrected it here, but now it's highlighting all places where it says groundbreaking. And I'm not going to capitalize all of them, but the one I'm selecting is here. It'll also show on the right over here. And I can press this arrow.
Just released a groundbreaking
to kind of play to where the next section is.
Just released a groundbreaking improvement.
So if you do have specific buzzwords you want to find where you say them, you can do that from here. And we also have the ability to locate filler words with some of our AI tools if you want to remove any filler words, which is pretty much a key feature using the AI tools, which is where we're going next. If we go over to the right side here in AI tools, you'll see that we have a bunch of tools that you can use to speed up your editing process. So there's edit for clarity, studio sound, remove filler words, and some more down in sound good. Look good is all about making your visuals look better. So there's a quick design feature, which if you have a blank project, you can get a rough draft from here. There's eye contact. So if you don't use a teleprompter, we did in this video, so there's no need to apply it from here, but it can make it actually look like you are looking right at the camera if you weren't, which is super helpful and also skips a step there for you. We have a green screen available if you don't have a great background. If you are recording in a park or something and you actually want to record in the ocean, you can apply green screen and it'll remove your background automatically. Then we have some of these other ones which aren't really for the editing step. They're either for the pre or the post-production, but also very cool. And hopefully we have some time to cover some of those. But the first thing I'm going to do is remove filler words. So it only found one filler words, but if you go to here, you can see all the types of filler words that Descript can find in your project. The basic ones like and it will also find repeated words and but I guess, I mean, and you can choose which ones you want to find and which ones you don't. The person who recorded this is a professional with very, very minimal filler words, so we didn't see any, but I will say find all filler words.
Which is interesting. His only one was
it's really only this repeated word here. So I'm actually going to demonstrate a different one, which is remove retakes, because we do have a few retakes here. This will cut all except your best takes. So if I click on remove retakes, there's no specific thing you need to do other than press submit. Some of the AI tools, you can add specific prompts in there. If you have, if you're creating clips, you can say, I want clips that say this, or I want clips that highlight this. We're just going to press submit. It's going to think, and it will tell us all of the retakes. And when it finds them, you have a few options. You can either go individually and press check. I want to remove that edit or accept that edit. You can press the X, which says I actually want to keep that. You can copy the edits to a new composition if you want to keep the raw file here and start from scratch. You can remove ignored text from the script, discard all edits, or press done. I'm going to press done, which will accept all of the edits. Now, if you see what's happening here, it actually looks like it removed a little bit too much. It removed maybe a little bit too many of the retakes. I'm going to run that again real quick. I'm actually going to discard this edit. And I actually want to keep this edit. I'm actually going to discard all the edits here. Sometimes it can work a little too well.
Yeah.
But that brings up a good point. We did see that the text had this line through things, and I do want to cover what that does. So I'm going to actually highlight this manually here, and it brings up our toolbar, which we saw to correct text, to regenerate. And I'm going to press this button called ignore. You can also do it by pressing Command Delete. And now this text, it has a giant line through it. This text is no longer in our project. It's no longer, when you play it back, it's not going to be there. So I'll put my cursor here and press the space bar to play.
This is Jacques.
And we jump straight to here. This is just a great way to visually see what edits are in your script without actually removing them visually. So for script-based editing, this is fantastic and a necessary feature and what we'll use. I'm going to do that here as well. And I'm only going to take the last take from here. So we'll do this.
In other words, just like you would do in a rough draft of a written document.
Exactly. Just like you would do in a written document. So now we have this. Oh, I see. These were the same. I'm going to do this here. Awesome. So now we just have, if we play it back.
This is Jacques from Poseidon Logistics with an update that will be a real treasure for your shipping operations.
You can see there is this gap here that we will fix.
We've just released a groundbreaking improvement to our Pirate Tracker feature. We've just released.
So it looks like we can actually even delete this here. But there's this giant gap in between there that we can fix. And that's something that if you look at the timeline, you would see a gap, but you don't actually need to do that with a script. If we go over still in AI tools, there's this feature called Shorten word gaps. So you can do away with awkward silences or these larger gaps like we saw there. So you can find gaps more than 1 second, or you can choose that to 2 seconds, 0.2 seconds, but I'm going to start with 1 and find them. So you can see it'll tell you how long each of these are over here. So this is 1.1, this is 9.5, and 10.9. So I'm just going to press shorten all, and now we have about 10 seconds of this. It looks like we might be missing some of the footage here. So what I'm actually going to do, just so we have this in here, is go to the project and see if I can add this one in here. So now you can see I'm highlighting the file that we have in our project files and inserting into the script. And now it's over here. And it looks like this is the second take from this. And I'm just going to make sure that the speaker is selected. We have Adrian selected. So I'm going to select Adrian over here. And make sure Adrian is selected here. Just going to go pretty fast here.
And why does it matter that you're assigning a speaker label to the transcript?
So the speaker labels are pretty much helpful just because this is going to be what we use when we use regenerate. So if I click up here, you'll see I can assign an avatar to Adrian, which is sort of a virtual person that you can use and animate automatically. If you don't want yourself speaking, or if you have sort of a mascot that you want to use for your company, you can assign an avatar, and you'll see how Adrian has this little AI next to it. That just means that Adrian recorded the consent statement so that we can use Adrian's voice as an AI speaker to regenerate or generate new text to speech, which is where that comes in. All right, so I think we've covered a good amount of the script. Now let's cover how to sort of visually style this, because this just has this one sort of look here. But when we look here, there's a lot of other things going on. We see this sort of rectangle over here. We see text layers here. We see him on the side over here, and we see captions. And then we also see these little music notes, which reference that there's music here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and add some music. I'm going to go to the project files. And there was some stock media here. If you see this folder here, that just means that you've added stock media to your project, which are found on the media tab. We have a whole assortment of media that you can find. So you can search stock media, you can search for images, videos, GIFs, Giphy, stickers, backgrounds, and you can also search for music and sound effects. We've already added all of those. So I'm just going to add, I believe it was, might be under music. Yes, it was this one we added. So to add it in, you could just hover over here and then add it. And now when we play this back,
operations. We've just released a groundbreaking improvement to our pirate tracker feature.
So it looks like it might be starting at a point that doesn't really have much going on. So I'm going to go to the properties panel. The music track is selected because I'm selecting here. And we're going to start this. Maybe we'll change the duration to the video. I'm going to just change it to 2 minutes, and then we can start a little bit later. So now that we added some music, we can change this to add that visual that we saw in the first one. That was added by doing something called layout packs. And you see on the right side where it says scene, and then under that, it's layout. This is where we can add layout packs. Layouts and layout packs are collections of visual elements and properties that when you apply it to your project, it will take the properties from the layout pack and basically apply it. So if we just take a look at some of these, this is the default layout pack. We have camera ones, we have ones for the screen, we have multicam, we have intros, outros, chapters, captions, speakers. We have all sorts of exciting layout packs that you can choose from just in the default. If you press change, in the gallery, you'll see a bunch of other ones with colors. We were using the Helsinki Blueberry one, so we're going to go over here. And the first one we used was, I think we want to add a chapter. So I'm going to go in here. And for all of these different layout packs, there's all sorts of title, like different types. This one has a person in there, so it's a talking head and the chapter title and this little visual element in there. So I'm going to add this one. And when we apply it to, it might take a second to actually apply.
And how do we see where the scene boundaries are in your transcript, Trevor?
I might need to do a little refresh here, or just wait for this to go, but I'll explain that as that goes. So, right, when you apply a layout, you are applying it to something called a scene in Descript. And scenes are how you can separate out your visual changes and your, basically the visuals of your project, the visual boundaries, so to speak. So you can see these little thumbnails in the script. That is where your scenes start and end. To add a scene, I am going to refresh. It might, I hope it doesn't stop the sharing, but I'm going to try a quick refresh. Okay, so that seems to work. So I'll actually do that right now. I'm going to press my cursor here. And when I add a scene, I'm going to press the slash. And this adds a new scene. So it'll also prompt us to add a layout from here. And so I can click it from here, and it'll also bring up our scene, our layout selector from there as well. We want to add this actually to the first scene. So I'm going to click on here, then click on layout, and then I'm going to add the chapter one that I want from here. And boom, it's added. You'll also see that it added this text automatically, which is a thing called Smart Fill. Layouts have this ability that when they contain text layers, so when you apply it to your scene, it'll automatically fill it out. We can obviously click here and change this to something else like Pirate Tracker new update, and then we can adjust it from here. So with this text layer now in here, if we want to make any other changes, we can select it and it'll automatically open up in your properties. So you can change, if you want to change the size to something a little bigger. I typed in 700 instead of 70. That's a little bit better.
Might be too big.
You want people to be able to read what you're saying. And then you can also change the colors. Let's say you don't actually like this color. Well, you can change the color of some of these elements. If you have a team, there is something called Brand Studio where you can actually set the colors of specific layouts and make sure that your team members are only using layouts with specific color schemes and specific font schemes, which makes things really, really seamless across the board. I'm going to undo back to the original color, which looks very, very nice. So now I'm going to actually add another scene from here. And this is Jacques from Poseidon Logistics with an exciting update that will be a real treasure for your shipping operations. On this scene here, I want to add something. I want to add some captions. Captions are also similar to layouts in that when you add them, you can add them to all scenes or this specific scene. And we have a bunch of preset captions here. There's a typewriter, classic karaoke, bold italic green, impact yellow. I don't have to read them all out, but I like something like this. Actually, I like the modern yellow, and I'm just going to change the colors of them so that they match what we were using for Helsinki Blueberry. I'm only going to apply it to this scene. And then I can select here. It'll automatically bring up this thing here so that you can customize it. And you can customize how you want to see, if you want the border to change the active word, the future words, the current words. I'm just going to change this to something like this so that when we play it back.
We've just released a groundbreaking improvement to our Pirate Tracker feature.
So that looks pretty cool.
Can we work in a question that's very on top?
Please.
So on YouTube, we have this question from Monica. Why were you adding the scene before you added the other elements to the project? What was the purpose of that?
For sure. So if I were to add a layout to the first part of my project and I didn't have any scenes, it would affect the entire project. We saw what happened is it actually took a while to load and I had to refresh the project. That generally will not happen, but because we are streaming and I am sharing my screen, it used a little bit more bandwidth and just took a while, and it was faster to just refresh and start from scratch. So that's one more of a rare case to happen. But the other case is it's going to affect the entire project and make it a little bit more difficult to apply new layouts later. We kind of want to have a blank slate throughout. So from here, we just have the sort of single camera focus. And over here, we have this one. It's kind of good to go chronologically if that's how you like to work. So now that we have the first couple of scenes, again, I think it's because I added some new takes in here, it's going to be still a little bit, there's some retakes in here, and maybe we can actually remove some of those retakes in just a second to have a better working audio here. I see someone that has made that mistake before. I have also made that mistake.
Yeah, all of us. So can you tell us then, Trevor, what's your recommended sequence for adding these elements? Say you have the media in, you've edited the retakes out and the filler words. What would you do next so that, unlike neurodivergent ventures on YouTube, you don't make that mistake?
The general principle that I like to go, this is my workflow, and it can change from person to person, but what I like to do is import all of my raw media as basically as raw as possible. The great thing about Descript is if you're recording specifically in Descript, you can just do one long uninterrupted take and use some of our tools to remove all of the fat from that project and from that take. From there, then I use either AI tools to remove the filler words, remove retakes, things like that. Add any of the look goods or sound goods. And we didn't even touch upon Studio Sound, what I think is one of our premier features, which just improves the quality in a single click from something that was less usable to completely usable and exportable from there. So I apply all of these things from here just to get a rough cut with no visual changes. And then I start adding scenes. Anytime that I think it would be a good time to add a scene, I just like to add that scene boundary from there. I don't need to keep it. I can easily delete a scene boundary by adding one here. I can right click it and then delete the scene boundary. I can also just select it and delete the scene boundary as well.
In addition to that, can you show us on YouTube, we've got this question about shortening the scene. How do you adjust it without removing it and then adding it where you wanted it?
Absolutely. So let's say I add a scene here. So we see this scene boundary, but I actually meant to add it down here. I could select this, delete it, and then add it from here, or I can just click and drag it here. And that moved the scene boundary from here and here. And I'll even show you something else with this. If I add an element, let's say a title, pirates are cool. I guess this is saying pirates are not cool, but so pirates are not cool. I can click and drag to move it here. And now that actually extended this layer because it's contained in the scene. The great thing about scenes is your visual elements are going to be contained within that scene. So if you want to extend all of the visual elements and all of the visual properties in a scene, you can do it by extending it like this.
Perfect. The best part of this is you've done some pretty detailed editing and we haven't had to open the timeline to do any of it.
No, we have not. And a lot of these things, if you are a traditional editor, and I am a huge timeline fan, so I will often have the timeline open while I do a lot of this and sort of switch back and forth depending on how I feel. You can do this in the timeline too. All of these are available to do in the timeline, but it's also available and just as easy to do in the script track for people that do not come through any timeline or just editing experience. So I feel like I've covered a good amount of the layouts and captions. One thing I do want to cover from scene to scene is, this is a good part to go from. So this is Jacques. I'm going to add it from here. And then we have this one, which just contains this is Jacques from Poseidon Logistics with an update for your shipping operations, and then goes into, we've released a groundbreaking improvement for our pirate tracking feature. I want to talk about smart transitions, which is also an insanely cool and valuable feature with scenes. So if I go under properties and I go back to our Helsinki Blueberry layouts, I want to use the chapter. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to choose, Poseidon Logistics updates. And then this is a groundbreaking feature. I'm just going to add another scene boundary here. We've released a groundbreaking feature improvement. I'm going to add a different type of one here. let's see what I want to do. Maybe I'll do something like media, and we'll see some of the available ones from here. So I'm going to do this. And this is a B-roll overlay, which now it'll have Adrian, who's talking over here, and it'll also have this B-roll placeholder is what this is called. Oftentimes, when you apply a layout, if you have no other media in there, it'll add something called a placeholder, which is a helpful thing to add media into. And as you see here, it has this add media. I'm going to add media, and I can add it directly from the project files. And I already have a few things here, so I'm going to just add this ship sales, this sort of fun ship with money sign. And I press on here and then replace to add it into the project. So now we see this sort of monster attacking a ship with a bunch of money on it. And I'm just going to make sure that smart transition is toggled on. It is. And what smart transitions do is it automatically animates between scene to scene to make a seamless cut between them. So if we play this back.
This is Jacques from Poseidon Logistics with an update that will be a real treasure for your shipping operations. We've just released a groundbreaking improvement.
So you see how it sort of animated the sizing and the placement of these layers. Without that, if we were to cut that out.
Operations. It's
a harsh cut, which definitely has a place in some sorts of cuts, but the smart transition just makes it look really, really nice throughout the entire video. Anything I'm missing from layouts or captions or scenes that I should cover before showing how to export this project if it was done? I mean, I can go over here just to show this is the better version of the edit after spending a little bit more time with it. This is what the final product would look like.
What about if you take a pre-made layout like you did with Helsinki Blueberry and tweaked something? Say the purple is your brand color instead of the blue. How can you make that reusable the next time you film a video? Say next week you're in a new project.
Absolutely. So are you talking about something like remixing it?
Or saving it as a new layout?
For sure. Yeah. No, that's a great idea. So there's a couple things we can do. We can click on this, and then there's this handy button here. If you have access to this, it's called remixing. So let's say you love how the Helsinki Blueberry looks, but there's like one specific color that's one hexacode off. If you press remix, you can change the primary accent and background color, as well as the fonts and the name, and it'll apply to all of the layouts in this layout pack. And it will no longer be Helsinki Blueberry. It will be a different blueberry. That's one way of doing it if you want to change just the color scheme and not actually impacts the layout itself. If there's something from here you like, let's say, I'm going to go to the first one. So we have this caption layer, we have the text layer, this thing. I'm going to actually say, I like this, but I want this to be even bigger. So I'm resizing this rectangle. I just want it to be bigger. And then I also want this to be bigger as well. And I want to change this. I like this now. I didn't like it before, and now I like it. So there's a few things and a few ways to how you can save this. My favorite way is just right-clicking on the scene boundary, and there's an option in the drop-down called Save Scene as New Layout. So you click here, and it'll prompt you on the right side with a name, the new Helsinki Blueberry chapter title. You can name it whatever you want. The type, this is chapter, and you can choose to save it to an existing layout pack, or you can create a new layout pack, and you can name that layout pack Blueberries Are Cool, and you can choose to share it in your drive publicly, or just if you want to share it only for yourself. And then you can create the pack and save. So that's just a couple of ways to sort of retweak an existing layout like the Helsinki Blueberry we've been using. But there are so many defaults from the gallery that even if you are super creative and you want to create your own layouts from scratch, which you totally can, even from just a blank version. So if you just have this blank section here and you say, you know what? I want to create my own layout right here. I'm just going to add a bunch of elements and it's going to be awesome. This is going to be a new layout. You can do that from here. You can save this. It doesn't have to already have a layout involved or applied to it. You can save the scene as a new layout and do the same process from there.
And that's exactly why I use pre-made ones to start and put my own twist, because they look
you don't
better.
think this is good? So once you have a sort of finished product and you want to share it from here, we can go to the export tab. And from here, it'll give you an option to export the video, the audio. You can do the timeline, transcription, subtitles, but we're exporting the video from here. You can name this. I'm not going to have the cake emoji in there, just Poseidon Logistics. And then you can choose what destination you want to do it to. We have the Descript web link, which is just a version where you can publish it to just one of our hosting providers where you can download it, view it from there. You can add comments to it and you can share that link along. You can export it locally to your desktop and then you can upload that to where you need, or any of our partners that we have for hosting providers. We have Wistia, Restream, Podcast.co, Podbean, HubSpot, a bunch of places. And we have some advanced settings. If you want to change anything from here, you can change the audio when you're exporting the video. You can change the metadata, things like that.
Can you show us the timeline export? Just because we had a user ask about, I believe it was DaVinci Resolve. They wanted to do some editing after they did the transcript edits in Descript.
So from the export tab, if we go to the timeline portion of here, you can choose what format you want to do. Right now we have Pro Tools / Logic, Audition, Samplitude and Reaper, Final Cut Pro, Premiere, and DaVinci Resolve. Those are pretty common formats in there. So if you do have another application, you might be able to import like an XML file, just a standard XML file, but I can't confirm compatibility from there. And then you can toggle some of these depending on what you need for your timeline export. The one other thing I want to say is if you do have audiences in other countries or need other languages, we do have the ability to take this and translate it to other languages, either the captions or the language itself. So under AI tools, if we go down to repurpose, there is a translate button here. If we press translate, it'll give us the option to select what language. You can see all of our available languages here. Now I don't know what language we're going to choose. I will choose the first three. And we can choose to match timing or do a direct translation. Match timing just means it'll be perfectly in time with the captions as best as it can. And then direct translation is just a more accurate translation. So you have two options to choose from there. And you can choose to dub speech. And dubbing speech means that you will actually hear the audio coming out in the new language. It looks like these aren't actually supported with dub speech, but they are with captions. So I'm just going to do one that I know is, I know French is supported for dubbing speech. So if we go here, dub speech, you'll see that it matches this speaker. We can also choose a different speaker. We have a bunch of stock media AI speakers if we want to have that one, or we can have Adrian speak, and then we can choose to lip sync the video. I won't submit this now unless you think we have the time to quickly show how cool this is, but this is a super fast way to translate your video into tons of different languages and gets you to a variety of an audience that you wouldn't normally have without having translators.
I say fire it off, and then after we do a few questions,
Absolutely.
we can always come back to it.
No, you know what? I will choose Amelie. So this is what it looks like when it translates it. You can see how the translation works, and then you can export the translations from there.
All right, you ready for some
Definitely.
hands-on questions here?
Please fire away.
Okay, early on YouTube, we had Fire to Pursue wants to take, let's say, your 16:9, maybe YouTube long form optimized layout, and turn it into an Instagram reel or a short, how can you go from landscape video to 9:16 vertical?
Absolutely. So what's great about this from here, I'm just going to go to the original from here. From Descript is you can, we fully support a lot of different aspect ratios and formats, and we kind of know how to create clips from there. Often if you're using the AI tools, it can ask you or create the clips in those formats, but you can do this manually by, I'm going to actually duplicate this composition by going up here, right-clicking this one, and then duplicating. So now I have a copy of this, and I'm doing this so I can make this into a portrait video. I go up here to the aspect ratio and video settings, change it to portrait. Now, when we initially do this, because we already have a bunch of assets, media, and visual layers, it will look like this, but it actually did a pretty good job of automatically adjusting it so that everything fits within the frame if we just kind of scrub through, but you will sometimes have these black bars. So from here, you might need to just adjust by going to position, and if you want to fill it, you can do that, or you can add your own types of backgrounds and other visual elements from there. And when you export it, it'll give you the option to export in portrait from there.
Yeah, there you go.
We also have a square format, and if you go to other, you can choose your own format and also full resolution size as well.
Yep, and frame rate if you have specific frame rate preferences. Most
Yes, we do
social
have
media
quite a lot.
platforms are gonna cap this stuff, like 1080p and 24 frames per second, I think is usually good enough, but you can crank it up for your own needs. Okay, we got another one, which if you're in the chat, give Trevor some tough ones here. What about one of your text overlays? Could we animate the text itself, not just the smart transition into the scene?
Great question, and you can. And honestly, the text animations are some of my favorite things Descript can do. So we have the first scene here where we have this one. If I select this layer, there's an option in this toolbar that pops up called animation. It actually has an animation already toggled on. So I'm going to remove it just to show you what it looks like when it comes in.
This is Jacques from
It just appears. So if I select this and go to animation, I can choose an in and an out animation, or I can use a custom one, which would just mean you do your own sort of animation. But one of my favorites are reveal, fade, wipe. I do like blur. I'm actually going to use blur here. And you can choose the easing. We have a bunch of different easing types. You can choose the duration, and you can choose the amount of the blur. I'm going to make this a very, very slow blur. And then you can just see the preview
This
of
is
it.
Jacques from Poseidon Logistics.
So you see how it kind of blurs in. And then you can also, for some of the animations, I believe appear, you can animate by word, character, line, or paragraph. So this is how you can get really, really specific and fun with it, is if you animate by character, you can make it look like someone's handwriting the word, or on a chalkboard, you can do it like that, or a typewriter. You can get really fun with it.
Yep, there you go. And how come that already had an animation on the text?
So sometimes when you apply layouts or other scenes, they might have that baked into the layout pack, or this transparently was previously edited before we started. So that's where that animation came in. I don't know exactly where that came from, but when you apply certain layouts, they could apply animations to the properties themselves. And that's probably where that one came in.
Yeah. I think most of the layout packs have something defaulted on there. So
They should, yeah, just to make it that we kind of know how things look visually pleasing, and animations are one way to do that.
yeah. What would be a reason why somebody might peek into the timeline? Are there any things that you commonly do? You said you prefer the timeline, but if somebody goes, I don't prefer it, but maybe there's something I need to start looking at it and becoming familiar, what might be one of the editing tasks that would lead someone to drag up the timeline?
Yeah, so I like to think of it, if you have a lot of layers and you just want to visually see them in a different way, like this, we have two music tracks here. We can go to our properties, make sure it's selected with the scene, and then we can see all of our layers here. And we see we have caption, title, rectangle, script, the music. We can't see how long each of those are without going to them and seeing how long they are. So this is played at 4 times speed and the duration is 1. Okay, let me go back. Let me see the rectangle. Okay, it's here. So you can look at them individually, but sometimes the timeline is a great way to see how this is played. Oh, it's only a second and it starts here. I actually want to move it over here. So clicking and dragging it over to the timeline, you can do it from there. And there are also some cool visual cues here, like this. Pressing here can add a fade if you want that. And also what I do love about the timeline is the transcription is still there and you can see where it's associated with the waveforms. And you can also see the visual waveform from here. So when I select here, you see the audio is at 25%. Sometimes it just, the human needs to see the visual sort of comparison between how this looks and how this looks versus how it sounds. So increasing the volume here, the waveform should increase, but it might be on a delay here. So when you increase the volume of certain layers, specifically for audio, the waveforms will increase or decrease in size.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hit a couple more questions. How about subtitles in a different language? Could you keep the audio, let's say in English from the speaker, but then change the subtitles to be in French?
Absolutely. So back to the AI tools and the translate feature. If we choose a language, we said French. We don't have to toggle on dub speech. Just translating the script will just translate the caption layer. Just be sure that you have a caption layer like this throughout your project. Otherwise, doing translate will do nothing. But I can show you, this should be pretty fast if I just submit this. I'll show you what this looks like to the captions. Hopefully we have time to show this, but you'll see how this is now going to be in, the captions will be in French, but the actual speech will be in English. And then you can export the video or you can export the subtitles.
Yep. And if you want separate versions of that, X4 Resilience on YouTube, how Trevor made a duplicate composition, you might say, I want to keep one in English audio with English captions, but I essentially clone it and then translate to say French captions, and I didn't have to mess with my original media.
Exactly. And just to show, up here, these are all of your translations and where they will appear. If I go back to the original, this is just our original composition, and then pressing here, and there will be more if you have other languages. You can translate more languages at a time, but if you want to do one at a time, you can do that too, and then see them from here.
Yeah. Can we check on the dubbed version that we tried before, or
it was slowing things, so I stopped that process. So now I'm just doing the captions. Okay, here we go. Here are the captions. So if you can see here, if we play this
with an update that will be a real treasure for your shipping operations.
Do you speak French? Can you confirm to the accuracy of this? I did take French, so I know a little, but it's, so to me, it looks okay. But from here, if you wanted to export, just make sure when you go underneath the advanced, you'll now see which ones you're trying to export. So you can export the original and the French version. You can export them 2 at a time. You can do the subtitles and choose which one you're doing. So if you wanted to upload to YouTube, you can do this.
Yeah, I like how it even auto renamed the name of the composition in the language. I did not know that it did that.
Someone said it was perfect in the chat, so I hope they are a French-speaking person, and then that was nice. Ah, perfect.
We don't know what that means. I think
I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I do not want to get roasted.
Yes. And You know, this is a good transition to the closing scene. There's no such thing as a basic question. That's why we do these. That's why Trevor's great at this, because he talks to new users all day, every day. We'll have a feedback form, and if there were some that we didn't get to or a future topic for a webinar, we would love to get your feedback. So let's see if we can, there we go. The QR code in the top left corner of your screen has a 3-question feedback form. So it'll take you longer to unlock your phone and open your camera app than it will to fill it out. Besides how we did today, we also want to know if there's a topic, a question you had, a future webinar that you would like to see, including if you want your content featured, how to repurpose your YouTube channel to verticals, or how to turn your webinars into newsletters. If you have any ideas like that, we do have guests that will come on and will use their content. We also have a bunch of other opportunities. If you like the web page detailed description of a feature, so say Trevor showed a lot of translating today and you want to know, is this language supported? You can go to Learn Descript, and we have videos and web pages on every feature. There's also the Discord office hours on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Usually Trevor and Marcelo are on screen, and there's less of an agenda, more just come with questions and hang out. Trevor probably won't wear a collared shirt there, but that's okay.
Different settings for different vibes, different.
Yes. And then we also have support webinars, which are more, I have a blocker, a problem, troubleshooting oriented. Those are on YouTube on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time. You can just jump in the chat and say, hey, I need help with this. And our support team will get on it with real humans. And then if you're one of those teams that goes, oh yeah, this is something maybe we could do to create more video or get the video out faster, we can have somebody from our team connect with you if you scan the big QR code there at the end. Trevor, my man, thanks for coming on. You did a lot of prepping and studying to get this ready. I'm sure Marcelo was watching to see how you did in his seat today. I give you an A+.
Thank you for having me. This was my first of this type. I'm so much used to audience questions just leading the discussion. So definitely a big change. So for those reviewing, please be kind. But if you did like it, I'm there every Tuesday at 11 a.m. where you can ask me questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can also asynchronously drop questions in the Discord server. Somebody will get back to you, or someone in the community might even be able to help you. So we'll let you grab that QR code if you haven't, but this will be on YouTube shortly. If you want to replay or you missed the intro, you can watch it at your convenience. Trevor, thanks again for joining us. Thanks, Fiona and Sal, for being in the chat today. Johnny on the spot with all the Help Center links. Appreciate you guys. Have a great one, everybody.